Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by Briar Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether it's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, Briar Greaves Insurance are the best people in the business to work with. Visit briargreavesinsurance.com or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. Happy Monday to everybody. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Sip some margaritas. Enjoy the show this afternoon. We're going to be talking about the Bucs secondary, and specifically one player in particular. That is Jamel Dean. He's been the starting cornerback for quite a while for this team, but with the Bucs drafting two cornerbacks this draft a couple of weeks ago, is his job in jeopardy? Can he stay the starting corner for the Bucs? We'll talk all about that and get into any conversation that you want to get to on this show. Of course, super chats get to cut the line. I'm your host, Matt Patera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, how we doing?
Doing great. We have got an exciting week because we actually get to see some football, Matt. We get to see Bucs rookie minicamp on Friday and Saturday. So just to kind of set the table here for you Pewter people, show today, show tomorrow. Tomorrow's show is going to be a very big show because we have a first-time guest on the show. That's special guest Bucs Vice President of Player Personnel, Mike Beal. Y'all want to know about the undrafted free agents that the Buccaneers have signed, plus the tryout players. Mike is going to be here to detail those players tomorrow, live at 4 o'clock, in addition to his thoughts overall on the draft class of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just in case you didn't know, if you're not as familiar with Mike Beal, he wasn't as out front and center as John Spytek was, who was the assistant general manager before he left to go to the Raiders to become their GM. Mike Beal has been at the heart, at the center of the college scouting since Jason Light's arrival in Tampa Bay, just about. And Beal has been at the epicenter of all of the scouts, the draft board itself. So this is a guy that has played a very instrumental role in all of these draft classes that have been hits for the Buccaneers. And if that wasn't exciting enough, we've got another special guest, Bucs cornerback Zion McCollum. That's going to be on Wednesday's show at 4 o'clock. So back-to-back Buccaneer guests with Mike Beal and Zion McCollum. We're not going to have a show on Thursday because we're going to have a show on Friday. Matt and I are going to be live at One Buccaneer Place, where we're going to recap the Bucs rookie minicamp. The minute it's over, the minute we talk to Todd Bowles and get the recap of what happened, Matt and I will be recording live from One Buccaneer Place at around 3:30 on Friday afternoon. So a special Friday edition of the Pewter Report podcast. And we're going to have the live reaction and thoughts on what we saw as the rookies took the field on Friday. So a lot coming up this week, a lot to talk about today. Jamel Dean, Matt, is he going to be the starter this year? Well, we're going to find out. I will say this: Todd Bowles is not in. He's not in favor of handing anybody a job. They have to earn it. We saw Tyke Smith, a rookie last year, just about take hold of that nickel cornerback job from the get-go because he showed the unbelievable maturity and playmaking ability and just being assignment sound. All the way from the rookie minicamp to the OTAs to training camp, he locked down that spot early. But he was really kind of competing with Christian Izien, and the team drafted Tyke Smith because they weren't thrilled with Christian's lack of playmaking ability. He had a couple of interceptions early, then went until a bit of a drought during his rookie season in 2023. Kind of the same way with Jamel Dean. They're a little out on Jamel right now because of the injuries, lack of interceptions, etc. But Benjamin Morrison is coming to the Buccaneers fresh off of hip surgery in the fall.
Yeah,
we'll see how quickly he acclimates into the defense, picking it up and all of that stuff. And he might be slow with that injury. We'll get into that today. We also have roll call coming up in about 14 minutes. So, it's Monday. We always do roll call And we love the participation from you, Pewter people, not just here in Florida, not just here in America, but around the world as well.
Yeah, that's right. I think when it comes to Jamel Dean, to me, I would be shocked if he lost the starting role after training camp, like going into week 1, being like, all right, Benjamin Morrison is our guy. So I think the question really is, will he hold on to that job by, the 17th game of the season?
Yeah.
When the Bucs hopefully are already in a playoff spot. But regardless, I think that's more of the question, because we've seen, although on one hand, Todd Bowles is a little hesitant to, pull someone and play someone different. We've also seen in a couple of years, Yaya Diaby came in and really took the reins at outside linebacker when, it was certainly needed. Some moves on the offensive line with Luke Gedeke a couple of years ago, like after it was needed. And sure, an injury was involved too. But for Jamel Dean,
he started Antoine Winfield Jr. The first game as a rookie too. So he's
right. But what were his options at the time? Like there wasn't really another option. This is way different because Jamel Dean, what's the knock on Jamel Dean? He gets injured and he doesn't intercept the football. I think if we looked around the entirety of the league, there would be a lot of teams being like, okay, he doesn't hold on to the football, but we'll take Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean, I think sometimes we highlight so much the issues that he's had, and I get it. It's frustrating when he's injured and he's not able to play, but he's still a pretty damn good corner when he is healthy. And it's easy to highlight a couple of things that frustrate everybody and be like, get him off the team, trade him. And, articles are still coming out even after the draft being like, oh, Jamel Dean, he's going to be a cap casualty, as if the Bucs didn't already allocate for their budget with this draft class and everything coming in. I'd be shocked if Jamel Dean gets cut too. I'm not saying Benjamin Morrison should not be starting at corner for this team at some point, even this season. But Jamel Dean, I think, has at least earned one last, all right, man, we cut you some slack. Now's the time to really put it together if you're going to. Because if he's not, then the Bucs have their answer for the future already with Benjamin Morrison. But I think we just have to remember, it is a rookie, and it is a veteran player that has proven it. When he is healthy, he's still a pretty damn good corner in this league. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. What if Benjamin Morrison struggles, in training camp? I think that's very possible. He hasn't played in quite a while. I mean, we talked about how JTS suffered from, not playing the COVID season. He went over a year without playing football, and then his career never worked with the Bucs. We're talking about several months where Benjamin Morrison hasn't played football and isn't going to play until August or late July. So I think middle of the season, we can definitely come back to this conversation. But let's not just highlight the negatives of Jamel Dean, where there's been a lot of positive in his career too.
Yeah, and I think too, what and one of the things that I'm curious to see is how Jamel Dean reacts when he has competition, right? Because if you go back, the first rookie out of the 2019 draft class that was Sean Murphy-Bunting in the second round, the cornerback out of Central Michigan. And then in the third round, Jason Light drafted another corner, Jamel Dean, out of Auburn, and then a defensive back who ended up playing safety, Mike Edwards, out of Kentucky. So in 3 draft picks, you get 2 corners and a safety, essentially. And what I remember about that was Sean Murphy-Bunting was the guy that kind of showed that he was ready to play sooner than the other 2. And he ended up, taking some lumps, et cetera. But then he got hurt, and Jamel Dean got thrown into the fire at Seattle, got torched big time by DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I believe. And he went and actually had a rebound game against the Arizona Cardinals, got his first interception back in 2019. And then it was kind of like between those two in 2020 and 2021, they were battling for that starting job outside of Carlton Davis. And I think each one of them had some injury issues, and Carlton probably was. So it was kind of like a little bit of a 3-headed monster, kind of like it was with Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, and Zion McCollum just 2 years ago. But when Jamel Dean was kind of competing for that job with Sean Murphy-Bunting, I thought we got the best version of Jamel Dean. Mm-hmm. Then he gets the big contract. The team moves on from Sean Murphy-Bunting, and to Jamel's credit, he was the one that won that job on the outside and kind of forced Sean Murphy-Bunting to go inside to play nickel, because the team really didn't have a nickel at that time. And Jamel was mostly an outside corner because of his length and all that. He's not at 6'1", 205. He's not the ideal 5'10", under 6 foot type of nickel cornerback that Todd Bowles likes. Murphy Bunting could play it, although the results were kind of mixed. There you see him getting beat for a touchdown. But I just wonder, with Jamel Dean now getting competition again, and he was part of that Super Bowl secondary, right? Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy Bunting, Carlton Davis, Antoine Winfield Jr., Jordan Whitehead. I just wonder if we're going to get a more inspired, back against the wall kind of Jamel Dean, and if he'll rise to the occasion. I think Benjamin Morrison is either going to push Jamel Dean towards becoming the player that he was, or pushing him to the bench. One of those two things is going to happen. Either way, it benefits the Buccaneers. And then, as you mentioned, Matt, it might be a situation where they go with the veteran until the inevitable happens. He gets hurt. Benjamin Morrison will have that opportunity with, maybe getting a series here or there, getting his feet wet, and not being thrown into the fire like Dean was back in 2019 and getting burned in the game, like Vernon Hargreaves Jr. was. This is before Todd Bowles, but Vernon Hargreaves was burned his entire rookie season, right? I mean, he gave up more receiving yards than any other cornerback in 2016 across the league. And that pretty much did him in because he didn't have a lot of confidence after that.
Yeah, very true. And I think Dean has to know going in. Like, I do agree this is going to push him one way or the other. And part of me does kind of think too, like, well, what if you had Benjamin Morrison starting just for the mere fact that you're preserving the health of Jamel Dean? Because all Jamel Dean does is get hurt. And, I am preparing for Jamel Dean to get injured. That's really just the way that it's gone. But it's also important to point out that the Bucs are in a better spot to deal with an injury to a cornerback. I know we're all saying Jamel Dean, but to a cornerback in general, because remember, Bryce Hall is coming back and he is used to, being a spot starter if it's called upon him. You also have Kindle Vildor in there. So the Bucs have a couple of different pieces that they can go and work with. Now, if Benjamin Morrison gets the attention of Todd Bowles and is spoken about so highly, the way that Todd Bowles, and you mentioned this before about Tyke Smith with the football IQ and all that stuff. And like, we saw it at training camp, preseason, even early into his Bucs career in the regular season. Tyke Smith just got it. There was something different with him playing on the defense for Tampa Bay than some of the other rookies, some of the other players around the league. That can happen with Benjamin Morrison too, where maybe he just has it right away. And if that's the case, then that opens up an entirely different conversation of like, who do you start? But I think Dean's got to know too, like, he certainly heard the whispers last year. I'm sure he heard it this offseason too. Maybe he read an article or two that was saying, oh, he's going to end up being cut. He could still have a solid year this season, and it's still his last season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think for those diehard Jamel Dean fans, appreciate the moment while you're in it right now, because unfortunately it might be the last time that Jamel Dean is with the Bucs. We'll see what happens. There's still a whole season to go. But the Bucs are prepared for now and the future, which is a really good spot. Just whether or not Jamel Dean is part of that future, I'd probably say no. And a big part of it is that he hasn't been healthy. He hasn't proven that in several years now. And if he can stay healthy, because the issue has always been twofold with him. It's no interceptions and not being available for a lot of games. If you can cut one of those in half, and presumably, I mean, if you could cut out both, that'd be great. But if you can cut out one of those, then he has a chance to be for the Bucs for a couple more years.
Well, and you don't want to see anybody get hurt at any time, but the times that Jamel Dean has been injured.
Yes.
I mean, this is a picture that was taken where he's on the bike during the loss to the Commanders in the second half. I mean, he's watching the game on the big screen on the Jumbotron right there. If you're wondering where this picture was taken, it's on the sidelines. And when was it taken? It was taken during the loss to the Commanders when he was watching Josh Hayes get beat for a touchdown by Terry McLaurin and getting beat by De'Ami Brown on a critical 3rd and 6 on that final drive to put the Commanders into field goal range, right? This was in the first half of the loss to the Lions in the playoff game in the divisional loss back in 2023. So the times that Jamel Dean has been injured have been critical. We talked about the missed opportunities for interceptions and how few interceptions he gets. This was a dropped interception. Hits him right in the hands. This is a dropped interception in the end zone, and he's guarding Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah. And if he gets this interception, it's off of Jared Goff. It's on the Lions' first series. Maybe it rattles Goff a little bit. Who knows? This is a dropped interception. The Lions end up kicking a field goal instead of getting no points. They got 3 points, and they went on to win the game. So those are some instances with Jamel Dean where it's not even, are you getting injured? It's when are you getting injured at really critical times? And then it's a situation where you're not coming up with enough interceptions, but like they're also happening in critical situations like that game right there.
Yeah, it's very much the case. And that's been the issue with the Bucs last season too. I mean, that was 2 seasons ago with the Lions, but that was a big story for the Bucs all of last year is the lack of interceptions.
Yeah.
Deion Jones dropping the ball against Washington in the playoff game. And I know the Bucs got the stop there, but again, a momentum thing of not even getting to that 4th down play. Yeah. Jamel Dean not making interceptions. The entire secondary not making interceptions. It was time and time and time again. The defense just did not show up, and they've tried to right a lot of those wrongs. A lot of different off-season moves that the Bucs made. Of course, very defensive-heavy draft as well 2 weekends ago. So we'll see how this group looks. I mean, Todd Bowles said that he figured out the problem. We know that they want ball hawks. We feel like they got ball hogs. They want a better front 4 on the defensive side. So we'll see. But yeah, the corners are definitely going to have to step up their game.
I think the thing too is like we're not raining on Jamel Dean here. Jamel's one of the coolest guys in the locker room.
Yes.
He's a nice guy. He fits in.
Got a catchphrase
like a glove. I mean, he is well liked amongst the team.
Yeah.
Always just a smile on his face. Has a great attitude. It's just the injuries that he's not been able to fight through. And, he's had a knee injury. He's had a back injury. It's not like he stubbed his toe, right? I mean, these are some legit injuries. At the same time, there is a level of toughness required, and different people have different pain tolerances, et cetera. And, like Tyke Smith, for example, he didn't have a knee injury so much as he banged knees in practice during a Friday practice, but he missed like 3 games because his knee was so swollen, like he couldn't even really run on it. So it wasn't like it was even it was hurting, but there was so much swelling in the knee from him literally colliding with the teammate and banging knees that it was hindering his ability to move on the field, right? So sometimes, like Rondé Barber during that 92-yard pick 6 against the Eagles, the greatest play in franchise history back in 2002, he was playing with the torn PCL in his knee, okay? So it's like, you're playing an entire game in the biggest game of your life up to that point. Of course, the Super Bowl was even bigger, and he still had that knee injury. But I mean, you're making those plays. He had a sack fumble in the game. He had the pick 6. He's doing that with torn ligaments in his knee. And Rondé Barber is pound for pound the toughest Buccaneer of all time. I will fight you. Not you, Matt, but anybody who says differently. It's just, he is. Raheem Morris put a picture of Rondé Barber in the training room because the guy didn't miss a single game, I want to say, for the last 13 years of his career. And he ended up, I think his final year, he was like 36, 37 years old. So, you don't play that many games consecutively into your 30s without having just that mental toughness. And, and maybe Jamel Dean can dig into the reserves a little bit more and maybe be able to fight through some of these injuries a little bit more now that there is the pressure of a 2nd-round pick, Benjamin Morrison, kind of like nipping at his heels. But you're going to be talking about another member of the Bucs secondary who's dealt with injuries too in just a minute, Matt, because it is 420 and we do this cool little endeavor that we do every Monday called
Roll Call. That's right. We do this every Monday show when we're in our home studios around 420. We love interacting with our fans as much as we possibly can because we have great fans all over the globe, not just in the U.S., international as well. So one of us during Roll Call, today it'll be me, goes on a conversation about your favorite team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in the meantime, You could put in the comments where you're watching the show from, and we'll put that on the screen and give some specific shout outs as well. So let's get it rocking and rolling, people. I already see you putting your locations there. So, yes, I want to talk about this man on the screen. And if you're listening via audio, I'm talking about Antoine Winfield Jr. And Antoine's been a staple, such an important figure for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team since he joined the team in 2020 when he was drafted in the second round. An absolute steal, despite it being a second-round pick. But we spent the title of the show talking about Jamel Dean. We've talked a lot about the new draft picks with Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish, who went in rounds 2 and 3. We've talked a lot about Tyke Smith and his move to safety and what they're going to do in the slot and all of these different things. And it gets overlooked a little bit. But let's not remember who's the big man on campus in the secondary for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And a reason why things maybe didn't go so great for the Bucs defense last year and why it was so much better in 2023 is because of Antoine Winfield Jr. I understand everything that Todd Bowles had to say at the Combine, at the NFL annual meeting, every time we get to talk to him about getting a 4-man pass rush better. And they did that with Hassan Reddick. They did that by letting go, Joe Trentrenka, he was not re-signed. They did that with David Walker. They even added to the defensive line with Elijah Roberts, who was on our show recently. But the straw that stirs the drink of this defense, the locomotive of this group, the man that could take this group from good to great, that has taken this group from good to great, is Antoine Winfield Jr., and I am fully expecting a bounce-back season for Antoine Winfield Jr., number 31 for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's remember, last season he only played in 9 games. He missed a handful of games, got injured early, then got injured again. So his stats were very skewed. They were pedestrian for somebody who is held in such high regard. In 9 games, he had 60 tackles, still managed 2 sacks. It was the first time in his career he did not record an interception, did not have a forced fumble either, but he still found ways to make an impact with 3 pass breakups, had a fumble recovery, and that fumble recovery was a scoop and score against the New Orleans Saints. So great players just find a way to make an impact. Of course, comparing this to his 2023 season where he was an all-pro at safety, 122 combined tackles, 6 sacks, 12 pass breakups. By the way, he played in all 17 regular season games. A league-leading 6 forced fumbles, also had 4 fumble recoveries and 3 interceptions. What I'm trying to say is that this man can do it all. And expecting him to bounce back, I think that should be expected. Expecting him to do what he did in 2023, that might be a little bit far-fetched. But one of my biggest reasons why the Bucs are going to be better on defense is not because Todd Bowles had a eureka moment. It's not because Hassan Reddick is in the building. It's not because they have better depth at corner with Benjamin Morrison and maybe Jacob Parrish starting at the slot. It's because of Antoine Winfield Jr. If he is able to stay healthy, if he's able to play a full 17-game season or at least gives you 14 or 15 games, his mere presence on the field makes this team better. Not just the defense, the entire team better. And all of those splash plays that we were missing from the Bucs last season, except for Antoine Winfield Jr.'s scoop and score, they will return this season. So I know we've talked about a lot of other guys on defense and in the secondary, but we cannot overlook, and I've been guilty of it a little bit, we cannot overlook Antoine Winfield Jr. and what his impact will mean to the Bucs this season.
Yeah, well said, Matt. I mean, it's really a story we've kind of been sleeping on, and I don't know if it's not like we're scared to talk about it or touch it, but it's just like it was such a dynamite season for Antoine Winfield Jr., and he's probably not going to have that statistical, sensational year that he did in 2023. Yeah. But that's okay. If you look at what he's been able to do in his other years, and if the Buccaneers can just get like one of these years from him, right? Go back to his rookie season. He had 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 3 sacks, 1 interception during the season. Remember, he had another one in the Super Bowl too.
Yep.
Like that's a good year. That was during his rookie season when he was figuring all this out.
Yeah,
Then you go to 2021. He made the Pro Bowl that year. That was
he did.
the lone year he made the Pro Bowl. Remember, he got snubbed for the Pro Bowl in
Buda Baker.
2023. Yeah.
Still get angry at him.
But that year he had 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 sacks.
Yeah, I'm looking for like that type of year.
Exactly.
Man. Like obviously, if he wants to have 7 forced fumbles and break his record,
Sure.
like fine, be my guest. But I'm saying like having a realistic approach.
Yes, exactly. If he can come down to earth, right, and have have a hand in say 6 different takeaways, however you want to check the boxes: interceptions, fumble recoveries, scoop and scores, forced fumbles, etc. And then give me somewhere between 2 to 4 sacks as a blitzer from the slot, like that's fine. That's what the Bucs need. What they can't have was last year, where the only splash play he had was that scoop and score against the New Orleans Saints, that fumble recovery in his first game back, which I'm very grateful that he did, because I had an Antoine Winfield Jr. touchdown prop bet in that game, and he won me like $300. So I was very happy that was his only splash play. If you're going to do it.
Good that was a road game. You could yell it at home and not in the press box.
Exactly. Do it in that game and earn me some money, which he did. So I got to take Winfield out to lunch. I mean, not that he needs a free lunch or anything, but I mean, feel obligated after that. But no, well said, Matt. Totally agree.
Thank you.
And, I think the thing is like, we don't want to jinx Winfield. We want him to come back and be. We want him to be spectacular, but honestly, for Winfield, spectacular is kind of the regular. Those stats line that's not. Those are Pro Bowl stat lines just about every year. He's a Pro Bowl caliber player every year when he gets 3 sacks and has a hand in 4 to 6 takeaways. Right? I mean, like he's just that good. But he has to be that sack guy, that takeaway guy for the Bucs. He can't just only have 1 splash play throughout the year. Now, granted, he should have had another splash play. He got robbed of a forced fumble against Atlanta. Yes, he did do the old "I'm going to knock the ball out at the goal line" trick again, and the stupid cameras didn't catch it.
Billion-dollar industry, but they didn't have the proper camera angle with the pylon cam.
Exactly. We do have some super chats to get to, and after we get to the super chats, we'll get to some of the fantastic Pewter people and where they're chiming in from today.
Let's start it off with Mike Wells. Thanks for the $2 super chat, who says, if Benjamin Morrison really is fully healthy, I think he wins cornerback 2.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing about this, right? Benjamin Morrison, because he is 6 foot and about 190 pounds, he's really built like Sean Murphy Bunting, right? I think he's probably a little bit more put together. You see the muscles there, a little bit more put together maybe than Sean Murphy Bunting, but he doesn't have like long legs like Zion McCollum has and Jamel Dean has, where he really doesn't have the fluidity to play inside. I think with his hip injury or the hip surgery that he had, he certainly showed the year later when he had 6 interceptions as a college freshman that he can recover from these injuries. So the expectation is that he will. Matt, I think the interesting thing here is, if, let's say, Jamel Dean ends up winning the starting job on the outside, does that maybe propel the Bucs to look at Morrison playing inside, where he will be competing with Jacob Parrish? And the reason I say that is because you obviously want your best players on the field, but I just wonder how it's going to play out, where you have Jacob Parrish, who really from day one will be competing for the slot job with, we're expecting, Christian Izien, right?
Yeah.
And so starting with the rookie minicamp and the OTAs, and listen, due to numbers, I would suspect that we're probably going to see Parrish at the rookie minicamp getting some snaps outside too. They'll want to take a look there. But once the whole team convenes during the OTAs and Dean takes the field with the veterans, I would suspect that Jacob Parrish will be seeing almost exclusively the reps inside at nickel. Well, if that's the case, let's say Jamel Dean, for whatever reason, he locks down that job in training camp. Do you put Morrison into like kind of a late competition with Parrish and try to catch him up there? Or is it just too much time has gone by? You've invested that time with with Morrison working on the outside against Dean, that by the time August gets here and you're almost, a couple weeks away from the start of the season, he's going to be kind of behind as a nickel because he hasn't taken those reps during OTAs and training camp. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, that's a really interesting situation. I like the idea of it, but I keep going back to the whole thought and idea of, and this happened with like Tyke Smith last year, where like they kind of committed him to the slot and not at safety. And there was conversations of, could you move him back to safety? I mean, we even spoke to Todd Bowles during this offseason about it, and Jason Light. And pretty much the general consensus was that they didn't want to put too much on the plate of Tyke Smith, even of him going into year 2. So I'm just curious with a rookie like Benjamin Morrison, who might not even be playing until the start of training camp, so can't even get a view of some of those reps or playing and practicing in them in practice and OTAs and things of that nature. I like, would they really have that much more faith in the football IQ of Morrison than they did in Tyke Smith of last year, that we're going to say, all right, I know you've been to the outside for the entirety of this training camp, but now with 3 weeks to go, we're going to put you over in the slot. I think he has the mental capacity for it, the same way that I felt that Tyke Smith had it too, because at the end of the day, like, you're in the NFL, you got to figure it out one way or another. So I would want to see that. Will they do that? I don't necessarily think so, just because of what I just said before about not putting too much on their plate.
Yeah.
The only other way I can see it, though, is if Parrish is getting beaten. I don't want to say like too badly, but he's just not coming to fruition as the nickel, and they still feel like they can upgrade over Christian Izzy, and then that opens up something else too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just wonder what the reps are going to look like for Benjamin Morrison, if they're going to kind of cross train him from the get go to have him say, all right, if you're not going to get the outside job, then maybe you're the inside guy in the slot, and if maybe it's between Parrish and Morrison, then in a simulcast situation where it's between Morrison and Dean on the outside, I'm all in favor of getting the best cornerbacks on the field wherever they play. I totally am. And I think Todd Bowles and Jason Light are too. It's just going to be curious to see how it plays out, where these guys end up practicing and how many reps they take. And if we're going to see Morrison exclusively on the outside, or if he's going to get some inside reps, and the same with Parrish. The rookie minicamp's not going to be a great barometer of that, because there's no Zion McCollum, there's no Jamel Dean, right? You've got the rookie class, and you've got the majority of the players there are tryout players anyways, because you only have 6 players in your draft class, and you've signed 11 undrafted free agents. So more than half of the people that are going to be there for the rookie minicamp aren't going to be there come Monday.
Let's also kind of remember like the quality of quarterback play we're going to get too. So, Jacob Parrish has an interception. If Jacob Parrish has an interception off the jump, hey, that's good. Like, you'll take an interception over dropping an interception. But it's not exactly picking off Baker. So keep that in mind as well with Emeka Egbuka. We are going to see him for the first time in a Bucs uniform, but not expecting total highlight reel plays based on the quarterback. But anyway, moving on with these super chats. Thank you so much, everybody. Mark Fisher, thank you for the $9.99, says, we're better with Dean than without him. Not a huge fan, but he has a known floor. Outside of McCollum, we don't know much. Smith and Izzy and inconsistent, and Winfield was not good last year. Others were bad.
Yeah, I mean, again, and we'll talk to Zion McCollum on Wednesday, kind of get his thoughts on the secondary too. I think a lot of players are chalking up last year due to the injuries in the secondary. There was literally a revolving door. Not
Josh Hayes and Tyreek Funderburk were playing at corner at one point.
Yeah.
With no disrespect to them, but
exactly right. And I think when you look, and you mentioned earlier Bryce Hall, who nobody saw getting out
breaking his leg the first
week
game
1.
Of the season,
didn't even get through the first game as a Buccaneer.
Because Jamel Dean got hurt.
And Zion McCollum got hurt. If you remember, Zion actually tried to tackle Brian Robinson in the third quarter and got a concussion. And so they were down to Christian Izzy playing outside corner in that game. So
wild way to start.
It was wild, but so to me, when I look at last year, you're signing Ryan Neal off the street. You're claiming Mike Edwards. it was the most snake bit secondary that I've ever seen. I've never seen a Bucs secondary that beat up before. You go back to Tom Brady's last year. They were pulling Richard Sherman off the street as well to play cornerback. So it's been bad before, but not at corner and safety the way that it was. And I just hope Bobby Slater and the staff can find the magic, key that unlocks the door to health over there and keeps these guys healthy. They had a lot of hamstring injuries last year, but there was also some kind of flukish injuries too. You had Jordan Whitehead, just about tearing a pec, trying to make a tackle on Danny DeVito in one game that cost him 4 weeks. Winfield just, injured his foot. And the last play or two of the week 1 win over the Commanders, then he bangs knees in a friendly fire incident with a teammate against the Raiders and was out for a while. So it was like a comedy of errors and injuries. And you have to hope that Jamel Dean will at least have a fair shot at this. Yeah. He'll get a fair shake from the coaching staff, but will he get a fair shake from the injury bug? Can he find the injury bug repellent to give him 17 games of health and may the best man win? I think that's probably what he's hoping for, because if he loses a starting job this year for the price tag, he's not going to be here next year.
Yeah, that is true. And to kind of bring this back to Mark's comment, regardless of if you think Jamel Dean should be starting, or regardless of if you feel Benjamin Morrison should be starting, Jamel Dean should be on this team regardless. Because
this year, yes,
this team specifically, because if they cut Jamel Dean, the depth is a little bit better than what it was last year, but you're still kind of back to square one with a big question if there's a long-term injury to one of their starters. So, yeah, Jamel Dean should absolutely be on this team. It's kind of ridiculous to say that he shouldn't to those that are, because, yeah, they would save some money, but there's no one out there to sign right now that you're going to use Jamel Dean's money. You would use that for like a couple of players or practice squad guys, like whatever the case may be. There's not that big ticket item in free agency right now. Free agency's gone and done with. And there might be another cut or two. Obviously, there's the Jalen Ramsey situation, but that's not why they're going to cut Jamel Dean.
Yeah.
And they won't. Got 2 super chats from Mopar Buck. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mopar.
With the 1999 super chat, who says there's a 30-second clip floating around of Shiloh Sanders sticking pretty close to Antonio Brown, and then follows that up with another 1999 super chat.
Wow,
thank you. Says Shiloh out here putting seatbelts on the likes of Antonio Brown. So I saw one video posted by Antonio Brown. This was like, I want to say over the weekend. It was like on Sunday. And he was essentially like, I'm dummying him. I'm cooking him. I'm messing him up, all this stuff. Here's the thing. I don't think Antonio Brown runs his social media account a lot. I'm sure like every now and then he tweets, but someone else is running his account. I don't know when those videos are. I don't know how they're edited. Maybe it's legit. Maybe it's not legit. But Antonio Brown is on social media to go and troll and make fun of people and do all those things. So I don't know how much we can really look at those videos and be like, oh, that's good, that's bad, that's not good, because it's very out of context.
Exactly. Well, and what is one clip going to tell us, right? I mean,
it's a one-on-one thing,
Yeah, I mean, who won the majority of the reps? Like that's important. And I'm not knocking AB, but he's no spring chicken either, right? So there's that respect. Listen, Shiloh Sanders is coming to Tampa Bay. I did a Pewter Pulse video, and all I basically said was, I just hope the kid who was in the orbit of Deion Sanders, and when you're in Deion Sanders' orbit, that means you're prime time all the time. You have cameras in your face. That is part of the Colorado program. Was part of the Jackson State program. I mean, he has a documentary series on Prime Network, right? Amazon Prime, and it's just a lot of attention. And when you get that much face time, you're kind of you feel almost kind of compelled, I think, to perform a little bit. And I think that worked to the detriment of Shedeur for sure. Maybe gave him a little bit of an inflated ego. It certainly cost him on draft day. I mean, you heard all of the reports from multiple NFL reporters, about the attitude and, and those types of things from different coaches that they had. It wasn't just like one reporter out there with this report. It was multiple, right? Now, I think Shiloh, he doesn't seem to have that type of an attitude, but being Deion Sanders' son, you're in the spotlight. And all I want for the kid is to come down here and just live outside of the spotlight, focus on trying to make this team, play special teams, do the right thing. And I hope that he leaves the social media entourage in Colorado, because he went undrafted for a reason. He's not that talented of a safety. If he was, he would have gotten drafted. But he has a chance of making this team.
He does.
He does. He really does. And more importantly, he's got a chance of making the practice squad. So once you're on the practice squad, as we've seen with Deion Jones and other players, Ryan Miller was a practice squad player, then brought up and caught 2 touchdowns last year. So I'm rooting for the guy. I've got no beef with him, whatever. It's just, it's a different situation than JJ Roberts coming from Marshall. Okay.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have the spotlight. He wasn't asked to operate in the orbit of Deion Sanders, which is larger than life. And I think if he tries to bring that down to Tampa, and I don't know that he is, but if he tries, it's not going to work out well in his favor, because out of the 90 guys that they're going to have on their training camp roster, he's nowhere close to 53 right now. Like, I'm not saying he's like number 90 or number 88 or something like that, but he's not 54. He's going to have to make this team, and he's going to have to play really hard and study the playbook and integrate himself. And for all intents and purposes, listen, and I didn't even bring it up in my Pewter Pulse video, but he filed for bankruptcy. There's some issues stemming from when he was 15 years old. And if you want to research, you can. I'm not trying to throw the kid under the bus, because that was 10 years ago. Because I think Shiloh is, I think, 25 now.
Yeah, he's a little older.
But, hey, listen, and I even said in the video, I am prepared to evaluate the guy as a Buccaneer, not a Buffalo. I just want him to come to Tampa with the right attitude. And, hey, it worked out for Graham Barton. What did he do last year? He came in, shut up, played football, listen to the veterans, and it worked out well. I'm not asking him to do anything different than the Bucs first-round draft pick did last year in Graham Barton.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm coming in with an open mind with Shiloh Sanders, because if there is a position to come to the Bucs as an undrafted free agent, it's safety. I mean, Kayvon Merriweather's on this team, was an undrafted free agent. Christian Izzian, there's a spot to make this team at safety and potentially at inside linebacker too. And I could see him making the practice squad too. So we'll see. If he performs well, he'll be on this team. I mean, he gets overlooked more than his brother anyway, Shador. So, unless Shiloh's really making plays, I don't think there's going to be all of the commotion the same way that there is with Shador and the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, we'll see what we get from Shiloh Sanders. If he performs well, it'll get a little more publicity. But, that's not a bad thing if he's playing well. And if he doesn't, then he's not going to be on the team. So, just look at it with an open mind, really, and we'll see what goes on.
Mopar, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot to Mopar, our MVP of the show.
Yeah,
thanks for the $9.99. Says Dean only has injuries when he gets burnt. He gives up touchdowns and heads to the blue tent. LOL.
That's tough. I can see how you've come to that conclusion. There have been a couple plays. I remember the 49ers game a couple years ago in San Fran. He jumps up, gave up the touchdown to Brandon Ayuk, and then was out. I think there are some people at one Buccaneer place that would love to see more resolve from Jamel Dean when it comes to being hurt. And I'll just leave it at that. And I kind of feel the same way. I feel the same way about that. I'd like to see Jamel Dean just have a little bit more resolve due to those injuries. I'm not a doctor. I'm not examining his knee. I didn't examine his back. Those could very well be some very legitimate injuries that allowed him to not be able to continue. I don't know. But and you know what? There's also this part too, Matt, where every player is different. And I've talked to players, and I'm not going to name who they are, but I've talked to players, and there are some players that feel like, hey, I'm not at 100%. And listen, by the time December rolls around, nobody's at 100%. You're at maybe 80% at best. But if you're injured or if you're hurt, right, like you sprain your ankle or whatever, you have to kind of have that self-negotiation, right, with your inner mind and body. Should I be on the field at 60%, or is the backup who's way closer to 100% going to help the team better? In other words, am I going to hurt the team by me trying to play through this, right? Or am I just the best option regardless? And what if we heard like Tristan Wirfs at 60% is better than most offensive tackles at 100, right? And there's something to be said for that. So maybe that's part of it too. I'm not Jamel Dean's sports psychologist. I don't know, but that could be part of it too. It could be like, man, I feel like I'm going to hurt the team if I'm out there and I'm not even 100%. Shoot, I'm not even 70% right now. I'm like 60%. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of different like variables and stuff to, speculate. And I mean, you don't know what's going in the mind of a player in the middle of a game, a day before the game, like whatever the case may be. But the bottom line really is that Jamel Dean has to have a good season for himself, for the Bucs, for if he wants to get future contracts, like all different things. If he wants to stay in Tampa potentially. Again, sometimes the injuries can't be. Sometimes the injuries are just gonna screw you over, but I think there are some that are avoidable. And if he wants to stay a Buck, he's got to stay on the field. That's really what it comes down to.
Can't help the club in the tub, as the old saying goes. We had a tremendous turnout for roll call. Y'all came through as we expected. A lot of Midwesterners today, so let's get to it. We have John Dale Morris from Lexington, Nebraska. Greatly appreciate you chiming in. We also had Charles Scott from Bettendorf, Iowa on the show. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that as well. St. Louis, Missouri was represented by Waldo Williams. Great to see all the Midwesterners show up. I'm from Kansas City myself, so I'm just about 4 hours down I-70 there. We went a little bit out west to Danny Lyon, biggest little city, Nevada. I've never heard of that before, but I love that, and the fact that it was biggest little city got my attention. So greatly appreciate that. And Dan in Florida is not in Florida. Dan is in Mesa, Arizona. He wants everybody to know. So
Dan on vacation.
Dan on vacation,
Dan
or
on
business
a
trip. Yeah, exactly. But speaking of, well, let's see. This was clever too. Happy revenge of the fifth day from St. Joseph, Michigan, from JT Olson. Appreciate that. And may the fourth be with you yesterday as well. We also had a couple of international folks. Derek Bowen walking my dogs in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada.
Very cool. I think I may have been to St. John. I went on a cruise to Canada. I was like a junior in high school, and we went on a family trip. I think it docked in St. John.
Oh, wow.
So I may have been there before. I'm not totally sure, but anyway, shout out to St. John, New Brunswick.
We have Albania in the house here from Ermal, Lulaj. Okay. I hope I didn't butcher the name too much, but greatly appreciate the representation from Albania. And then in Josh Capo's neck of the woods, we have Tommy Smith from Atlanta, Georgia. And then our Florida peeps also joining us today. Supply and Demand from St. Pete. That's the 727, of course.
Yep.
We have It's Just Henry over there in Lakeland, Florida. We had Kathy Gillespie. Stitch Happens. Kat shouting out to fellow Bucs fans from Zephyr Hills. Greatly appreciate that, Kathy. And we also had, here we go. Tampa Bay Beast was playing on the 13th hole specifically at Bardmore Golf Course in Pinellas County. So thank you for taking time to watch the Pewter Report podcast while you are teeing off. And
hope you're playing well.
And hopefully you're playing well. We did have one more international guest. Let me get to that. And Tobias Stark, greetings from Munich, Germany. Always appreciate you tuning in from Munich, Tobias. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate everyone's support, everyone watching. And we have another super chat from our MVP of the show, Mopar Buck. Thanks for the $9.99 super chat.
Sure.
Says, I have one more question. Hey, if you super chat us, you can ask as many questions as you want. I have one more question. I'm late. John Bullock from Nebraska. What's the report on him?
Great question. And I'm not dodging it, but make sure you tune in tomorrow. We're going to have Mike Beal, who's the director of actually the vice president. I got the promotion, vice president of player personnel, and he is going to be on talking specifically about the undrafted free agent class. That's going to be tomorrow's show. Mike Beal will be on at 4:00, so make sure you tune in live. And just in case you missed it, we're going to have Zion McCollum on Wednesday's show at 4:00, talking more defensive backfield. And then on Friday's show, we have a special Friday show, the Bucs rookie minicamp report. Matt and I will be live at One Buck Place on Friday. There will not be a Pewter Insider this week because we're going to be busy watching practice. But we will have that special show for you Friday. So to answer your question, what I was told by multiple Bucs sources, Mopar, was that the players, the undrafted free agents they're most excited about, just me polling some of the sources I have, wasn't necessarily Desmond Watson, although they're excited about him. Wasn't necessarily Shiloh Sanders, although they're glad to have him. It was the 3 offensive linemen that they signed, 2 centers, and then the tackle, Ben Chukwuma, as well as John Bullock. That's the other guy that they're interested in. And that kind of like what you were talking about with regards to the shortage at safety, right? The depth, where there was some concern there. They didn't draft the safety. They didn't draft a linebacker. Mm-hmm. So John Bullock, maybe he has a chance to make this team. So we'll see how he fares during the rookie minicamp. And then if he is as good as advertised, he'll stick around, and we'll see how he looks in OTAs and then training camp from there. But a promising player who got better every year was the special teams demon the first couple of years for the Cornhuskers. And then the last 2 years really came on. Got a funny feeling, Matt. Lavonte David's going to take John Bullock under his wing for one reason or another.
I wonder why. The Bucs seem to always find 1 or 2 hits that are undrafted free agents that either end up making the team or end up on the practice squad and then find their way into some playing time, whether it's, injury or big role on special teams or whatever the case may be. And there are some good candidates this year. Yeah. Of course, Des Watson, who we talked about a lot. There's going to be some big names that we're going to be, no pun intended. There's going to be some headline names that we're certainly going to be paying attention to during rookie minicamp, regular minicamp, OTAs, training camp, all that good stuff.
Yep. We have a couple latecomers to roll call that we'll get in here. Gorilla Shop in Orlando and Matthew.
Hey, Alexandre Nascimento from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome.
Speaking of fans, well, we love all of you fans, but we do have some Pewter Platinum members that always get a shout out from the Pewter Report staff here. And we want to thank our Pewter Platinum members, as we do on every show: Scott Federico, Rachel Gordon, Noah Parr, Scotty J, Dave Anderson, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel Elrican, Sam, John Dale Morris, Zach Brannigan, RP89, Eric McMillan, Connor For Reals, Zach Jarvis, Kevin Thomas, and Mario Thomas. Thank you so much. We also want to thank the new Pewter Report TV channel members, or those who have either recently joined, rejoined, or leveled up. And that's Never Trust a Hippie, Smash Jackson, B, Craig Ford, Tard Lizard, Scott Sharkey, CL, Rashad West, Mike Reynolds, Payne Gusto, and Kevin Sampson. Thank you very much. And we have the ever-growing list of Pewter Premier members that we're going to let this scroll and continue to play out because there's just too many to name. We'd finish the show, man, if we rattled all these names off. But if you're interested in becoming a Pewter Report TV channel member, we have some good news for you. We have a way you can do that. And all you have to do is go to the front page of Pewter Report TV and click on the join button. And then you can show your support for Pewter Report by becoming a channel member. Now, the cool thing is you get some really cool perks, including loyalty badges, custom emojis, and you get early access to videos. If you're a Pewter Premier or Platinum member, you get exclusive Pewter Insider episodes on Fridays. The Pewter Platinum members also get free merch, as well as an annual Platinum member meetup in Tampa. That's going to come up in June, right before the minicamp. We are talking with Mike Greenberg from the Bucs. He is committed to doing it. We're just trying to figure out which day would be best, and also trying to get a player or two as well. That would be also cool for our Pewter Platinum members to have that experience. But it's never too late. You can always join and find the membership level that fits your budget and your needs the best, and we greatly appreciate the support. Also, too, if you are a business owner, help your business score new customers by advertising with us on our Pewter Report podcast, our website, or social media. You can email me at sr@pewterreport.com for sponsorship opportunities. I'm happy to have a conversation with you and greatly appreciate it. Just like we appreciate the support of Briar Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with the company you can count on for homeowners, auto, flood, boat, and business insurance. Make sure that you work with an independent agency that you can trust. And I have that relationship with John Greaves and Sam Greaves and everybody over there at Briar Greaves Insurance. Do yourself a favor. You can save money on your homeowner's insurance or your auto owner's insurance if you just give Briar Greaves a call. Let them do the legwork for you. They will check every company in the state of Florida and come up with the best prices for you. So you probably are paying too much for your car or your homeowner's insurance, and they can help you. So give Briar Greaves Insurance a call at 813-876-4166 or visit BriarGreavesInsurance.com on the web. That's Briar, B-R-I-E-R, Greaves, G-R-I-E-V-E-S, insurance.com. And remember, hurricane season's around the corner. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not my fault. If you live in a flood zone, you need flood insurance, because homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage from water. So that's a big key. And the folks at Briar Greaves Insurance want me to relay that to you. So make sure if you live in a flood zone in the state of Florida that you not only have homeowners insurance, that you have flood insurance as well, because it's critical here in the state of Florida.
Want to give a shout out real quick to D Wheeler. I'm not laughing at this part. It'll all make sense. But D says, I smell a Super Bowl, guys. Plus, I got a little cheat code. My first son was born, and we won the Super Bowl that year. And guess who's having another son in September?
Man.
Congratulations to you, D, on having another son. He says, I got us through. So congrats to you, D. The part I was laughing at was Bri with a comment saying, at D Wheeler, I hope you have at least 10 more kids in the next 12 years.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. We're going to have to start a GoFundMe for D and his family with that many mouths to feed.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. That's
very funny.
Yeah, that's great stuff. That really is. Folks, you know what day it is. It's Monday, and we always love doing a roll call on Monday, but there's other cool things about Monday, like the fact that it's a happy hour going on now until close at Walk-Ons, 3 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you, Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, and Lakeland. If you can't make it to happy hour tonight, and you should, because they have trivia at 7 o'clock every Monday at Walk-On. So it's a great time to go there with your spouse or your friends or coworkers, play some trivia, enjoy that happy hour menu until close, and trivia starts at 7. But if you can't make it tonight, make sure you make it tomorrow, because at all of the Walk-Ons locations, they have all-day happy hour from open to close, including $5 Tito's. That's going to get you the $3.99 domestic pints, $5 premium house pours, or happy hour wines. $5.49 gets you the 22-ounce domestic draft, and we've got some fantastic appetizers for $4, $7, and $8. Make sure you get to Walk-Ons, where you eat like a winner and drink like a champ. And you know what? Hey, you can watch tomorrow's show when you're at Walk-Ons, because we're going to have Mike Beal, special guest, Bucs VP of Player Personnel, going to be talking undrafted free agents and all those rookie tryout guys that are going to be coming into Tampa to try to win a spot here on this Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster. Plus, we'll get his thoughts on the draft. And then we've got Zion McCollum on the show, Bucs cornerback, on Wednesday. And then Friday show, no show on Thursday, but Friday, Bucs rookie minicamp. We'll have a day one recap. Matt and I will be live at One Buccaneer Place.
Yeah, a lot of action-packed stuff coming up, and you can pay attention to it all by following us on our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV. Like, subscribe, leave a comment on this video as well. That's going to do it for us on today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and we will see you tomorrow with Mike Beal on the show for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Getting ready to eat some Taco Bell.